Well, let's talk about SRM Knives. And the SRM boys had contacted me. They sent me this knife and this knife. I bought this one off of Amazon. Actually, I bought one of these as well, the 9211. I bought off of AliExpress. So I can't remember which one this is. They're identical. So I think I sold one off already to a guy who wanted one. But you can get these on Amazon. Okay, and I'll give you the link that SRM gave me to go to their SRM store on Amazon. Here's the information from SRM, their home, and then you can click on the different knives. They got the 9201 we're going to be talking about, the 1168 we're going to be talking about, and then of course we've got the 9211 here on the table. These are all very inexpensive knives. They're anywhere from, I think this one's a whopping 38 bucks and then down to $19. And note that there is, as opposed to this 9201, there's a 9202 and it looks different. So take a look at the 9202, and this is GW, but he's not president anymore. George Washington? You can see here how this cutout is on this blade, and see the jimping along the top here. Look at this one. That's got a real big thumb ramp. It's a different kind of setup, but they both have this axis type lock, which of course used to be patented, but the patent ran out a year or two ago on that. So these are an axis lock. Two of them are, and then one of them is a liner lock. This one here, and this is the most expensive of the group. Now, SRM being San Ranmu, I read something a while back about SRM, San Ranmu, Real Steel, all that kind of stuff, and I kept thinking, they said San Ranmu was for domestic consumption, SRM was made for export to other countries, and then Real Steel, of course, is manufactured by SRM. And as far as I'm concerned, and nobody's told me I'm wrong, that the Rake knives, RUIKE brand knives, are also made by this group. But God only knows how many other knives are OEM'd by SRM, San Ranmu, Real Steel, etc. So this is a liner lock. Here's your lockup on this, about 30%. And, actually, these are pretty good quality knives. And let me slide these out of the way just to kind of show you the action on it. I mean, this one, I haven't done anything on this. I don't know which one I'd take apart. I think if I'm going to take one apart, I want to take this one apart because I don't want to take those stupid axis lock things apart. Then you got to get the spring off of both sides, etc. And it's like Benchmade stuff. But it's centered up. I'm not getting any blade play or lock rock. The fit and finish is pretty decent. I mean, they haven't squared these off. These are nice and chamfered around here. I mean, they didn't like do jimping up and down here, on this lock bar thing, but it's exposed enough to make it easy. It's quick over the detamp ball. It drops nicely. The design flows. Blade to handle length is pretty reasonably good there. And this backside flows into the bolster. Interesting, they did a little blue standoff there for your lanyard hole to go through. Otherwise, it's deep carry right hand, no left hand. G10, and I keep thinking that you can get them, in the brown and this, and then with these this model, the 9211, you can get that in a black, a brown, and then I think the brown has a coated blade again. So I got them with the satin. I'm not big on coated blades myself, but who cares? I mean, these are just user beater knives, that kind of thing. But we did, by the way, and let me drag this back in here, and this is an interesting one. Not as severe a thumb ramp as the 9202, but I mean, I like this one. This is a little bit, you know, a little bit more of a less severe design impact, and I kind of like the flow of it. Kind of less is more thing. And, you know, design, you know, blade to handle length, fine. Goes into the bolster here. Got a nice cutout, so you can just finger flick it open if you want. You can use the axis lock to open or close, however you want. And then you got a little bit of blue accent around the pivot. You got deep carry pocket clip, left or right hand. Now on this one here, the 9211, it's right hand deep carry. And they put you some flat screws there. And they embedded the pocket clip into the scale. So I mean, really, that's really well thought out and nicely done. And then, of course, they've skeletonized the scales. Check this out. They skeletonized the scales on this both sides. Okay, they did the cutaway for the blade, but they didn't put flat screws on there. But okay, you know, notwithstanding that, I mean, pretty good job there. Interesting. None of these are huge knives, and none of them are tiny knives either. So they're not like a small gent carry or anything either. They've all got nice G10 on them, pretty good traction on them. This one is kind of the wildest looking design, but very, very slender, this one, huh? And right there, blade to handle, not bad, seeing as how, you know, this angles up here. So you're good. And it has a little bit of break there before it folds into the bolster area, but it's got a little ramp here. So you can actually technically get under this and kick it open. Technically. And you can open it up with your thumb as well. That blade tucking in to the scale so severely like that means it's a little tougher to get up under here. Probably the reason why they did this machining here. So you can get, you know, a little bit better behind there and kick it open. And then, of course, roll this around if you want. Also, just, you know, kick it open with by pulling back on the axis lock as well. Yeah, so not bad. And, you know, this one's a rocking, what, $19, but it's 8CR13 as well. Okay, and then the others, this is D2, okay, and this one, let me see, yeah, okay, this is D2 as well. Now, since they make real steel and rake knives and all that stuff, you know, you can pretty much depend that they're telling you the truth on the steels. Of course, the 8CR, I mean, what are they going to lie about? I mean, there's nothing there. But, okay, so the 9201, and I sent it to my buddy to do a PMI scan on it, and yes, it's D2, and here's your, you know, vanadium, chromium, etc. And the 9201, yes, it is. This will be also in batch 35, I believe, of my report that I do batches of knives. The 9211, this orange one here, of course, yes, it's 8CR13, and you got 13 chromium, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then, like, big mystery there. But then the 1168, yes, it's D2 here. You can see it's under or at or below 12% chromium on D2, so it's a semi-stainless. When you get to 13 and up, you're technically full stainless. Vanadium, moly, etc. So, and yes, it says D2 right here. So, yes, I actually had them tested and confirmed. I don't have Rockwells on these, so I don't know what the Rockwells but you'd want the Rockwell to be probably 58 on this. And of course, it'd be nice if these were a minimum of 60, 61, somewhere in there, you know, a minimum of like 59 to 60. And these will be knives that you just use, and you can just strop them back up after a couple of days of usage, and or, you know, they shouldn't be difficult to resharpen. You got a little bit of a choil here, so this shouldn't be a problem. Nice cutaway. It's not sharp inside this cutaway, so that's good. You're getting a lot of traction here. But you know, I thought I'd just put all these on one video instead of doing a separate video on each one. You know, they're all SRM knives. They've all come out about the same time, and they're all budget wonders. This one being the most expensive. So, but wow, I mean, it's almost maybe worth it. Look at that. I guess we will take this one apart since this is a more expensive one, and it doesn't have these axis lock type springs, and it's just got a hell of a nice drop to it. It's just sometimes you get a knife and they just do that. I mean, and other knives may have the exact same types of bearings, setup, etc., and just not. So go figure, right? But you know, the ergos on this one, well, it's a little bit more unusual, isn't it? Because your finger goes in here, but I mean, this is kind of really angular here. This is fine, okay? That's neutral, but this one just depends on the size of your first finger, whether everything else is going to be fine sitting back in this area. But if it is, then you're okay. And reverse grip's actually even more comfortable. Now, talk about, you know, pretty neutral ergos. This one, and this one, we'll measure these here in a minute, because this one is a bigger knife, isn't it? You know? Not a lot bigger, but some bigger. Now, just not as tall. So talk about real thin, and then weighing them off ought to be kind of interesting to see which one weighs less. But yes, the ergos on this, not a problem. Okay, now look at this one. Okay, this one really not as severe with the cutaway here. So this should be kinder to you. And yes, and really this is D2. So if you really want at least a D2 blade, to me, I don't care. I mean, I know that sounds a little bit strange, but really, I don't care. 8CR D2, or, you know, you could give me 12C27, 14C28N, whatever, VG10, OS 8, you know. I'd probably prefer almost everything I just mentioned, including 9CR18, over Chinese D2. So I'm not a huge fan of Chinese D2, but I use it, I sharpen it, it works, and really I don't notice much difference in performance between some of the other steels because I rotate, and so I don't really stay conscious of how many cuts did I get from this before, you know, or I never have a cutting task that's so long and involved that it's enough to dull the blade in one session. And that's really the only way you're really going to get a true sense of how long it carries an edge. You know what I mean? But as long as they can all be just either stropped up or lightly sharpened back into a razor sharp, then that's fine. You know, what the hell? Let me take some scrap paper here. Well, I mean, that one comes sharp. It's an old knife list here. Knife sale time. Okay, that's sharp. And pulled out too quick for that. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I got no complaints with the sharpness of any of these knives. So let's put the tape to them. Let's see if there's that much difference really in the overall length. It can be deceiving, can't it? I mean, this one looks longer. I think it's just because it's so thin. And yeah, it's just 3.5 inches, 90 millimeter, a little over 8 1/4, maybe. Well, I mean, you know, see the lanyard area comes clear out to here. So maybe 8.35, 8.4 almost at 21 centimeters. Yeah, let me see what we are. Of course, that lanyard area kind of throws you off. And here, no, you're a little under 3.5 inches. So this is definitely shorter, and it's under 8 inches. Okay, so it's like 7.8 overall at close to 20 centimeters, close to 90 millimeters, but not quite. Probably more like 87 millimeter blade length. So is this the shortest? Let me see what this one is. This might be interesting. No, that's a full 3.5 there and more. I mean, it's 3.5 cutting edge. 90 millimeters. So no, this is a bit longer. And yes, it's over 8 inches, 8.25. So I'd say pretty much identical in length there. Really, really close. And then this one's the shortest. Now, let's do a real quick check of blade stock and see if there's continuity between those these three knives there. This 3 millimeter, which is 0.12. Okay. 0.45, 11.5. That's fairly slim. No, this is fatter. 0.48, but not a whole lot. And we got 3 millimeter. Yeah, it looks like it. Yep, 3 millimeter. Next. 3 millimeter. Yep. And 12.5, 0.49. So this is technically the fattest. Then this, then this. So this is the thinnest. Time for the weigh off. Let me see what we got here. Well, 83.7 grams. 96.6 grams. And for our nice little liner lock, 124 grams. Whew. Well, there's the fat fatty right there. That's the heavy duty. Even though, I mean, that's technically not that heavy, but 4 3/8 for the heaviest one. 3.41 for the 9201, yeah. And this one, I'm sorry, is the 1168. And then, under 3 ounces, 2.95. So as far as slender goes, but it's as long, if not longer, than the other two. So we got all these three puppies out here. You know, you got some jimping on top of this blade. You got a thumb ramp and jimping on top of here. And you've got a disc up here. It looks like you can take off if you want, although you're going to leave that cutout showing on the blade. So I'm not sure why you would take it off, but it's kind of neat that they put it on there. I think it adds some style to it, and also you know, makes it so that you can kick it open nice and easy. Well, okay, let's just do this one, and no entree from the front, is there? So let's see what we can do from the back. Oh, that was already pretty loose right there. So obviously no thread locker on that. No, it's still got a nice drop. I thought, you know, and it's centered. Okay. But it did come a bit loose. Maybe too much fidget fun with that. Might have to, you know, keep note of that. Might have to put a little bit of thread juice on there if you get one and you find that it starts unwinding on you. These are number 6s. It'd be nice if they'd go to number 8s, but you're talking basically a knife at Ganzo prices. So, you know, I don't know what your expectation level should be in that regard. The quality is nice. It's right in there with, I mean, technically, like this knife, I know it's 38 some bucks, but I don't know that it's that distinguishable from a lot of these $50 G10 models that are floating around there. Certainly not in terms of, you know, being D2 steel, G10 scales, you know, all that kind of stuff. So now let's get this off of here, and hopefully that screws the same. Yeah, it is the same size as that. So do we have anything we can pull off? Yeah, we do. And this is a lock bar side here. G10, okay, I get it. Okay, so now we've got this spacer in here. See this little standoff there? So I guess we can shove her down on this side. And yeah, I mean, the liner is got some holes in here, a little bit weight relieved. Well, that's a ceramic bearing there, and that's kind of some heavy, kind of, you know, white grease type looking stuff. But they didn't put ceramic bearings on here. Interesting. Just regular steel ones, but okay. I mean, I don't really care. I don't, you know, I guess it would be a big thing, or it might be more important if you're in a wet environment. Well, steel will, you know, finally rust, where ceramic bearings are not going to rust. But okay, and so now you got a squared off pivot, which begs the question, where does it come through the other way? Oh, right there. So it is when it comes through from the front to the back, yeah, this is not going to turn. So yeah, they didn't give you a number 8 or any access to the front, but they made it D-shaped. So when it connects all the way through to this liner, then this is not going to spin. Okay, so you will not have to worry about spinning the whole pivot accidentally. Okay, looks like we're about ready to put this back together. Of course, we got the pivot screw from the other side, and then the little blue surround for it. We've got our bearings, we've got our blade stop, we've got our scale screws, and the pocket clip with the pocket clip screws, liners, you know, blade, and the scale from the lock bar side. Okay. So we're going to come through this direction, okay, and there's your surround with your pivot, and of course we're going to point this square piece down because that's how it connects with this. And then we don't, of course, need steel washers because the liner is steel, and we're going to juice this up with something that's not a heavy white grease. And I'm going to put my blade stop on there. Then I'm going to slap me a blade on here and turn it. And then I'm going to put some my other set of bearings, which is nice wide bearing ring. You see that? It's nice and wide, isn't it? So it gives a lot more support across that pivot area. Maybe that's what makes it drop so nice. I don't know. But then we'll throw our liner on here. Kind of interesting they put a ceramic D-tamp ball there, but okay. Okay, we got it lined up now. That D shape there is popped on through. And so we want to put our external scale on here, and then we got to put our pivot surround and then our pivot screw, and so then we can at least lock down this part of the knife. Okay, and then we've got 2 scale screws here, one here and one over here. I can pick it up, and I got to put that one on there before I can put that pocket clip on, because that pocket clip's deep carry and it's going to back up over that screw a little bit. And in a way that kind of begs the question of maybe You could have brought this out to be there and saved yourself a screw. I don't know. I mean, then of course that pocket clip, if it was deep carry, is going to back up longer than the back of the knife, right? So maybe that wouldn't have worked. See what I'm saying? If that top could have been the top to that, then it would have backed this whole thing up to a super deep carry. Super deep. But we didn't want to go super deep. Put this first screw in the top. Just like that. And then we'll put the next one in. See if we can guide it all the way through. There we go. Okay, we're locked down there. Let's see if we're locked down on the first one. No, not quite. Get square to it. There we are. Okay. Now, I think we got all these other screws, yeah, in place. Well, we're centered. Oh, no play. Is it too tight? No. Seems pretty good. Seems pretty fair. All right, we're back in action. So we've got, of course, we've got the 9201, the 9211 here. 9211, 9201, which are both like an axis lock, and then you can get the 9202, little bit different thumb ramp kind of thing going on there. Some different colors. Of course, this is D2, and of course the 1168 is D2 as well, and they are real D2. And of course, this is 8CR13. A variety of new SRM knives out. They make some other good ones that I have reviewed before, so check back. I got, there's reviews I've been doing on SRM knives for several years now. Some really good ones. So I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you so much. And we are Love Them Knives, because we do love them knives, and you guys stay sharp.